Hey Alicia, thanks for your post. I want to respond. You addressed question 2. Great job at understanding what are terrorist acts, why do people commit them, what creates a successful terrorist act, and what creates one that's considered a failure. Obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind, regardless of Snow's input, is the killing of infidels regarding terrorism specifically related to religious extremism. And that includes infidel infrastructures like democracy, or religions like Christianity, or ideals like religious tolerance. You summarized well. The thing that struck me the most in the text and in your post was that one of the aims is to provoke overreaction by the government. This is something that drives me to try to seek alternatives to direct action following a terrorist attack. It's not that I don't believe in military action. I certainly do, and support it. Obviously, my husband's a former retired Marine, and I work for the military. But at the same time, we can see multiple points of failure that come out of direct action when there's not state building, when there's not ideological change within a regime. One of the things we talked about in a former chapter was how we believe a regime change is necessary. That's a part of victory. That's a part of conventional warfare in the American psyche. Sometimes war is required. Overreaction, though, is a concern. So as we dissect what overreaction means, is overreaction detainee status at Guantanamo Bay? Is it an invasion? I would like to see more of a discussion on what defines overreaction by the government. I don't think it's necessarily being impulsive, meaning you did A, which equaled B, so now we respond with C. I think we have to, and there's also that issue of, are we going to try to match the intensity of the attack? And how do we do that? And how do we do that as an American and a democratic nation? So that's where I'd like to see more focus. What should a reaction be, and where are those discussions? If there's a terrorist act that levels two buildings that are national symbols for Americans, the appropriate course of action would be what? Where the punishment fits the crime. Although I don't know that we can do that. I think that's what terrorism does and what asymmetrical warfare does. It takes away conventionalism. It takes away something that in the past we've considered sound reasoning that fits within our profile of response. Another issue that I agree with you completely is you said it was a stretch when Snow related what goes on in terrorism to the Gestapo and to Hitler. I agree with you, that was state sanctioned, even though it was still illegal. It was state sanctioned, and I couldn't tell where he was going with that. If he was talking about destroying synagogues, or was he talking about the Holocaust? Because then we've got to be very careful there, because terrorism and genocide are not the same thing. Terrorist acts or asymmetrical warfare or terrorist means or motivations may exist in genocide, but genocide in itself has another definition, and I think that this goes back to what Snow's saying about why it is so important to define what terrorism is and what terrorist acts are. And finally, I think success is achieved if fear is acted on. I think it's okay to be fearful because something tragic has happened, just like it's okay to grieve. That doesn't mean there's success because we have an emotional response. I think what matters or what creates success is if that becomes a part of who we are, and then we act out of that rather than living in a place of peace and freedom. So an initial response of fear to me does not mean success. That's human nature. You're not going to cause me to fear for long, which I think is something. It's kind of a patriotic thing, don't tread on me, sort of thing. So anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'll look back to see if you respond. Thanks.